All right, everybody, welcome to NorCal Sports Network. And this is the same hat that Brock Purdy's dad wears. Chat loves it when Marty Lurie comes on.
Anytime you lose a game this time of year, when you can't go backwards, it's a problem.
All right, we are back. Welcome, everybody, to NorCal Sports Network. And appreciate you being here as we are heard right here on YouTube, also on X, formerly Twitter, Facebook Live. We are on Spotify. What else we on? Apple Podcasts, Instagram, you name it. We're out there. We're covering you. And we definitely want to thank our sponsor for this show. This show is sponsored by Chapman Law Group, everybody. Chapman Law Group, located in Marin. We want to give them a big shout out. Give Chapman Law Group a call. They do all kinds of law and take care of any of your legal needs except for family law. But give them a call. They're in Marin. They're licensed throughout the state of California. They are no affiliation with Matt Chapman, the giant third baseman, but Chapman Law Group is a proud sponsor of the NorCal Sports Network. Give them a call at 415-613-9483. I'll run the ticker for them below here. So if you forget the number, you have a legal need that pops up, give them a call. Appreciate it. All right, guys, let's get right into it. This is something, by the way, sponsor-wise, guys, I just wanted to last night we hit 2,500. Want to give you guys a definite thanks for that. That was a milestone. We've been hitting milestones on a regular basis. Right now, we are sitting at 2527. We've added 20, or maybe it's 2525. Let's see. No, 2527. There it is. So the sponsors, or not the sponsors, but the subs keep gaining. We appreciate that. There it is right there. There's a live look at NorCal Sports Network subs, 2527 and climbing. You want to hit 2,600 by the weekend, everybody.
Yeah, so, 25 since last night.
There was another one. Hey, thank you, everybody. This is like the telethon. Okay, there we go. So we'll give that a little update every now and then. Check it out. But thank you, guys. Really appreciate it. And if you would hit the like and subscribe button if you haven't subscribed already, really appreciate that. Guys, what's your thought on this? I've been looking at this Giants team, been looking at the teams in the playoffs. For the most part, you know what? The final 8 were Padres, Dodgers, and Mets, Phillies. And then in the American League, it was Detroit, Cleveland, New York, and
Kansas City.
Every team except the Detroit Tigers had a superstar or going to be a superstar everyday player. If we took, let's take the teams that bowed out in the National League first. The Padres, Tatis, Machado, stars. And I mean, probably closer to superstar status.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got the up-and-coming stars like Jackson Merrill. There should be Rookie of the Year, but probably goes to Paul Skeens in a name recognition type deal. Then you got Luis Arias, the batting champion 3 years in a row. It's just loaded with stars. And we're just talking every day. Then you got the Phillies, and you got Bryce Harper and Trey Turner. Stars. I mean, Bryce Harper's a superstar. Trey Turner borders on that, I would say. You know, he's one of the elite players in the game. And then you got the Dodgers, of course. You've got the big monster three, Ohtani, Betts, Freeman. And then you've got the Mets, and they got Francisco Lindor. So every team that we've named has a really, really attractive star players, right? I mean, and then you got Pete Alonso, who's not a superstar, but he's a star. He's something that, people want, unless you already got a better first baseman, unless you got a Freddie Freeman. And I would imagine if the Mets offered, if Pete Alonso said he wanted to sign with the Mets or the Dodgers in the offseason for nothing, just wanted to play for him, I'm sure they'd take him. And they would just say, okay, we'll find a spot for you.
The point is that you can't make the playoffs and you can't win the World Series playing Moneyball. You just can't. You gotta have a superstar, whether it's through development, whether it's through free agency, whether it's through trading somebody. You gotta make a move, and you gotta have somebody to build your team around. Matt Chapman is not a superstar. I don't even know if he's a star. He's a good player. He's a good player. He's not an elite player. He's elite defensively. He's not elite offensively. He's a good player. He's a solid player. You can't build your team around Matt Chapman. Matt Chapman has to be one of your pieces that helps you win, but you can't build your roster around him. A Bryce Eldridge, perhaps you could build around him if he turns into the superstar we think he can and we hope he can. But he's just a prospect, and prospects are just prospects until they prove otherwise. So all the teams that you mentioned, I mean, the Tigers are the one team that didn't have an offensive superstar, and they lost in the division series. They kind of caught fire early, or late, I should say, and they had good team morale and everything, and they pushed their way into the playoffs. But you saw they didn't win. They're not going to win the World Series. They're out of the playoffs. So you got to have somebody that is a franchise player. You got to have somebody that you can build around. You got to have somebody that fans can recognize as a superstar.
Yep.
In order to win the World Series, and that's the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is not to go to the playoffs. It's not to be the sixth wild card team. It's to win the World Series, guys.
Right. And, people say, well, the Giants won it without superstars. Well, Buster Posey was a superstar.
Yep.
Okay. He was a superstar. And you had three great pitchers.
And you had a Hall of Fame coach, or manager, I should say. And
Lou, we look at the American League teams. Let's look at the two teams that got eliminated, the Tigers and in the division series. It was the Tigers and the Royals. Okay. We look at the Tigers, no real superstar everyday player, but they had a superstar pitcher. But they also have, but the Royals have Bobby Witt Jr., who,
superstar,
if wasn't for Aaron Judge, would probably be the MVP in the American League this year.
Mm-hmm.
So he's incredible. And then you look at the four. Those were the two teams out. Then you look at the two teams in. You got the Yankees. You got Judge and Soto. I mean, massive superstars. And then you got the Cleveland Guardians. I keep wanting to call them the Indians, but Jose Ramirez is the best third baseman in the game, in my opinion. Superstar. And you got to have somebody and then build around those. The Giants lack push to a superstar. I mean, there's nothing there's nothing close. You can't tell me Matt Chapman is a superstar when he can't even drive in 80 runs. I mean, my goodness. And his hitting is really bad with runners in scoring position. So here's my question for you guys. Well, let me before I ask the question, let me make this statement. Here we are, and I've been on this show, having fun, hoping the Dodgers lose. And all the Giants fans in the chat, ripping the Dodgers, saying things like theirs is not as impressive as the Giants World Series championships. We didn't need all the stars. We're looking for little pieces to make ourselves feel better when dang, we wish we had that team. And why don't we have a team similar to that? In the 60s, we were the juggernauts. You take the San Francisco Giants, Lou, and you go position by position, and I'm talking San Francisco only, all time, versus Dodgers all time, position by position. Pick the best Dodgers at each position and the best Giants, and the Giants dominate. Where the Dodgers win is the pitching, starting pitching. But the Giants dominate. I mean, you take first base. They don't have no Willie McCovey. Our second best first baseman, you could say Orlando Cepeda, or you could say Will Clark. All three of them better than any LA Dodger first baseman. Second baseman, Jeff Kent, better than Davey Lopes. Shortstop, Crawford. Who's their best shortstop? Bill Russell. Third base, Matt Williams, Ron Say. Left field, Barry Bonds. Center field, Willie Mays. I mean, where did the Dodgers catcher? Maybe Mike Piazza. Someone could argue over Buster Posey, but the Giants have had. 60. We had the stars. We don't have any stars anymore. Why is that?
Dan, I'm gonna say something.
Stars? Why don't we?
You're talking about superstars. First of all, when the Giants won the 3 World Series, baseball was completely different. That's 10 years ago. Everything's changed. Okay, it's not the same type of ball. It's not even the same type of playoff system. So let's put that behind us. Not that I'm going to take those 3 away. The other thing is, if you take Bonds, he was a superstar here. Everybody else hated him because they said he cheated and they were jealous. But when you look at our teams in 10-12, was Buster really a superstar, or was he a solid player? Was the freak
in
superstar?
12, he was MVP.
Okay.
He was comeback player of the year. And you might not say he's a superstar like some outfielder who had 30, 40 plus homers, but for a catcher, he was the guy. He was the guy in the game. Yeah. Him and Molina.
Yeah. So I'm just saying.
But no one hit like Buster. Buster hit 20 homers and hit over 300.
And when I think back then, I thought even maybe someone a little bit higher was the freak, Timmy. I thought Timmy was a superstar. 2 no-hitters. He was almost Cy Young every year. He was of that caliber, and both of them together made the Giants where they are. But when you look at it, another superstar we didn't even mention because they literally missed by a half game, Atlanta, right? The Braves have a superstar.
Right.
Who was out this year. And I'm sick and tired of all the people on the chat saying, the Giants weren't good because of injuries. Atlanta lost the MVP of the league last year. Now, would that made a difference? I think it would have. They probably wouldn't have been a playoff team.
And the Braves still made the playoffs.
Braves still, well, sort of.
Yeah, they made the playoffs. They lost in the wild card.
They still made the playoffs. So I think what the Giants have to do is the fans, the media hopefully will come around. They got to realize without a superstar, we're never, ever going to go to that playoff level again. Farhan said if we get great pitching, we're going to be a playoff team. It failed.
Hey, Lou, can you do me Lou, can you do me a quick favor? Can you, your mic's off a little bit. Can you just sign out and sign right back in again? Maybe
sure, no problem.
Or it's just, we got a bad connection. Okay. So I think what Lou's saying is making a lot of sense. The Giants, it is a different game. It's a total. Is Lou frozen? I think he's frozen. Let me.
Oh yeah, he is.
Okay. Yeah. I think his internet's slowing down or something. Let's see, we can bring him back. Maybe. You got it fixed, you think?
Can you hear me better?
Lou, you there? Yeah,
I'm here.
Yeah, I think so. Go ahead. Okay, go ahead and finish your thoughts.
No, I was just going to say the Giants have to adapt. They need a big bat. We've been saying the same thing. And one of the things I always bring up is we've had a different left fielder in the starting lineup on opening day since Bonds left. Bonds left 18 years ago. Okay.
Right.
Really, we haven't really had that high caliber of a superstar. And I think the Giants got to make a decision. Even if we only have one guy, it's a start. You know, you're wearing the Cleveland Guardians hat. They had Ramirez. Ramirez said, listen, I don't need the money. I'd rather you guys pick up 2 or 3 guys. He's only making $16 million a year. He doesn't need the money.
Wow.
This way, Cleveland can actually get 2 or 3 more players, pay him more to make sure that team is better because he's young. That's what we need. You know, not these guys that had injuries 4 years ago and far on, oh, we'll bring them back and hopefully they can, you know, relive their glory lives. No, that's not how it is. You got to get a guy that's going to put people in the seats. Sort of like, you know, Ohtani's, we're never going to get someone like Ohtani, right? But when you watch the playoffs, Ohtani, Judge, Soto, when they're up, you don't want to leave. You know, we only had that really when Bonds was batting because you knew, my God, am I going to miss another homer? Instead, we have these above average players. You know, if you look at that, our players that we had on our team, you know, Chapman, great defense, offense sort of lacking. But when I looked around, most of the guys that played for us, except for maybe Ramos, are like a 20th, maybe 21st player on these other good teams. Like, look at our team. If you take Ramos and you take, I'll say Webb, and then you take Chapman off, are any of these other guys within the top 20 of the Padres, the Dodgers? Would any of them be playing?
You talking about, you saying minus Ramos and Chapman?
Yeah, and Webb.
Well, let's just put it this way. If Matt Chapman was on the Padres, I don't see where he would play. Where would he play? He's not going to play ahead of you're not going to play him ahead of Machado, are you?
Machado.
No. And, you know, you're not going to play. And Ramos probably could play. I think Ramos could play in right field for, you know, they had Profar, Merrill, and oh, no, you got Tatis out there in right field. Sorry. Ramos, I guess.
Ramos starts on almost every team, I think.
Yeah, Ramos is a good player. I love.
But I'm just saying those other players that we have.
Exactly, Lou. And you bring up.
We're fourth place team out of 5 in a division. We need to step it up, or we're going to be going through the same thing every single year. That's all I'm saying.
Exactly.
And then instead of us blaming the owners, we're going to give Buster a couple more years. It's sort of like when you had the guy who wrote the article about it was a safe thing bringing Buster on. When you really think about it, all these owners have done, unless they bring somebody big in, is they have delayed what we know for another 2 years. That's what they've done. Guys were trying, the free agent, all the excuses are going to start happening.
You know what I think, Lou?
No, that's all I'm saying.
Here's what I think is going to happen.
I
I really think this may happen. I think the Giants ownership giving Buster the job, that they think that will be enough for a while. And I don't think they go out and get anybody really that big. I don't think big players are going to want to come here because they're not coming here because of Buster Posey. Okay. Let's just be real. Buster recruited guys when he played. He tried to get Stanton. He tried to get Judge as a retired player. Buster was part of the ownership group. He tried to get Judge. He tried to get Ohtani. He didn't get anybody. So now he's going to be, maybe he can deal with something because he pays more because he has the authority to go higher and does a better job at negotiating with agents. That's a possibility. But I think they're preparing. Be prepared for this team to be very similar to last year, minus Snell. And maybe there's a couple of fringe type free agents, maybe an Anthony Santander comes, but that's not a difference maker for this team.
No.
He won't be a difference maker for the Giants.
No,
And
no, he
Dan, like
won't.
I said,
And
and I told Bora, the first 5 weeks of the season, we need to somehow survive. And with the team we have, start of the season, a lot of guys sometimes take a while to get their back going. It could get ugly right away. That's all I'm saying. Because our from the last week of March until literally, I'd say the first week of May, I mean, it's brutal, our schedule. We're on the road a lot more. We play in cold places. We're just hoping. And, I don't like to go into a season like that.
no, and I mean, you guys, Lou, you bring up a great point. I mean, the Giants do need a star, right? We can all agree with that. But I don't know if let's just say Juan Soto comes here, right? We're going to be paying him north of, I don't even know, 50, 60 million a year. That's going to take away from other players on this team.
Agreed.
It's not just because we get a Soto. If we get a Soto, there's a good chance Yaz is gone. Lamont Wade is gone. Michael Conforto is gone. All these fringe starters are gone. And if you had Soto or a really good star on this team this past year, I think you had a chance to make the playoffs and go on a run. But the problem is you didn't have that. And you had a bunch of above average players. Like you said, Lou, you don't, and that's what they are. They're a bunch of average to above average players. And that's what your record dictated. You were an average team. If you had a Soto, I think you could have made the playoffs and perhaps made a run. But if you get a star, that takes away from the rest of your team and the rest of your roster. I mean, the Giants have a lot of money. They have a lot of money, and they should be willing to spend a lot of money. But just because you get a star, it doesn't mean that everything else is just going to come into place. I mean, there's a lot of factors that play in. Juan Soto, left-hand hitters don't particularly hit well in this ballpark. Also, team continuity. I mean, I don't know what happened to that San Diego Padres team last year, but I mean, that locker room was not mushing together. I don't know if it was Melvin, if it was Preller, if it was Soto. They kicked Soto to the curb to New York. So maybe they thought he was a problem. I mean, they just made the NLDS without Soto, and they had a worse team this year than they did last year. So there's a lot of factors that go into this, but just because you get a star, that doesn't mean you're going to be pushed over the top. You have to build a team that has continuity with each other and that plays well together. And that's what Buster was talking about. He wants to build a culture in this clubhouse. Just because Juan Soto comes to this team, I mean, he could be, and I don't know, I'm not going to speculate, but some of these guys are just all about themselves. They're not about the team. And if these guys are all about themselves, exactly, and they're all about getting their money and their stats. But baseball is a team sport. There's 26 guys, I'm pretty sure, on this roster the majority of the season. It's a team sport. All these guys have to play together. And if these guys don't mush together, if the clubhouse is not great, if the clubhouse has some disconnect, then there's a good chance you're not going to be a good team, because that matters.
Right. I got a question for each of you guys. Are you guys sharing the same modem?
What?
Are you and Lou sharing the same modem?
Dan, but you know what's funny, Bora? You're the one that freezes, Dan, not me or Bora.
I'm not freezing that tonight. I did before. I know. I don't know what it was. I think it's something going on in San Francisco. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe
could be.
Maybe Kamala's back. I don't know. Anyway, so here's the thing with this star thing. Paul asked a really good question. What makes a star? So what makes a star? I think a guy who is a consistent, above average statistically in whether it's, home runs, batting average, RBIs, something that he's consistent at year in, year out, and that I guess I'm describing a star. What makes a star a star? Okay, yeah. What makes a star is it's got to be some consistency. Somebody who, if Kyle Schwarber put up the kind of numbers that he did with home runs and hit, over 250 a year, he'd be a real star because he's a threat leading off, but he doesn't hit consistently for average. One year he hit under 200 was it 2 years ago? He hit under 200 and this year he hit almost 250, something like that.
2 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, Barry Bonds, for example, the guy year in, year out, you're getting 300 batting average, 30 plus homers, 40 or 50 at some time, let's just look at the stars that are out there. Mookie Betts, for example, very consistent ball player. Guys you can just kind of count on. Guys that come through in the clutch more often than not. Just remember this. Baseball's a game of failure. So if a guy comes through 30% of the time, he can fail 70% of the time, he's still a star. Mm-hmm. But it's the guys that, only come through maybe 20% or 22 or 23% of the time. That extra 7% is huge. You think, what's the difference between 230 and 300? It sounds huge, like 70 points. Well, it's 7%, right? But it's the guys that you can count on.
I think what makes a star a difference maker and somebody in the clutch that is consistent. It's one of, I think that's what makes it. And you know who they are. They have the it factor. They're the ones, it's like Ohtani right now. I've never seen during playoffs, they tell you Ohtani's up and 2 batters away. It's like, what? What about the other teams? That's how big he is. Have you ever seen that, Dan, before in a playoff game where in the upper right, they say Ohtani's 2 batters away. It's almost like they're warning you, don't go to the bathroom.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. People are, that's what also makes a star. When a guy that you comes up and you don't want to pitch to him, you're afraid of him. Aaron says Posey basically said his approach will be pitching and defense. That's how they won, and timely hitting, of course. Don't hold your breath, any stars or superstars. Yeah, and you know what else? That could work maybe in the other game, the older game. It could work today, but you better have guys that can put the bat on the ball because, the Padres hit the ball. The Giants don't hit the ball. You got to put the ball in play. And
there's not one way to win. There's multiple ways to win, but let me answer your question, or Paul's question, I think. What makes a star a star? It's a very subjective question because, of course, they have to have the stats, right? You can't just be a star and bat 230 with 15 homers. Mike Yastrzemski is not a star. I think there's a lot of things that make a star. He has to be clutch. Like Matt Chapman is not a star for one of the reasons he hits under 250 and he just does not come through in the clutch. He can't hit with runners in scoring position. Another thing,
not only does he not hit, he doesn't usually even drive in the runs because he strikes out too much.
Exactly.
If you put the ball in play, at least, change your approach a little bit with runners in scoring position. You got a runner in third with 2 out. Stop trying to kill the ball. Hey, a fly ball will work, or even a ground out, but it's like too many Ks because the Giants' approach is wait for your pitch, and if it's pitched, it's in your zone, swing at it. And if it's not in your zone, don't swing at it. And that's why you see a lot of called strike threes today. I never saw called strike threes in my lifetime like that I see in baseball today.
Because hitters are just guessing. But other things that make a star, I think. There's different sides of this, but you gotta be a leader. I think that if you're a superstar, you got to be a leader of your team. You got to be someone that the clubhouse and other players look up to. I think that's a great trait to have. You look at Cleveland, right? And they have one star. I think Josh Naylor's good, but I don't think he's a star. Jose Ramirez is he's a superstar. He's the best third baseman in the game. He's an MVP candidate every year. What makes Cleveland so successful in the regular season and being able to have success in the playoffs is their manager. Stephen Vogt might be manager of the year this year. I think there's a good chance he is. It's his first year.
Mm-hmm.
And they have the best bullpen in the league. I mean, they have the best bullpen in the league. So there's different ways to build a team. It's
Great
not
point.
just, I mean, New York, Soto and Judge, right? Those are the two stars. Mets, Pete Alonso and Francisco Lindor. The Dodgers, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Ohtani, you name it. The Padres, Machado, Tatis, Profar was good this year. There's a bunch of guys. The Phillies, Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, Trey Turner. There's a bunch of guys. Kansas City, Bobby Witt, Salvador Perez. All these guys are good. But if you only have one star on your team, you got to make sure everything else on your roster is almost perfect. You got to have that lockdown bullpen. You got to have an A+ pitching rotation. You got to have a great manager. And I don't know.
You got to have a good leadoff hitter that hits 300 like Kwan.
Exactly. That's a great point. Stephen Kwan. And I don't know if Bob Melvin is that A+ manager. I just don't know. I haven't seen that from him this year. Maybe he can turn around with his freedom next year. But going back to the question of what makes a star, everybody has different answers. I mean, there's not one thing that makes a star. You got to have the stats. You got to have the leadership. You got to be able to hit in the clutch. But to me, there's also just, you got to have a presence in the batter's box. It's like when you're up, pitchers know who you are, and pitchers have a plan on how to pitch you. If Mike Yastrzemski steps up to the plate, a lot of times, I mean, everybody has a scouting report on every player nowadays, but a lot of times pitchers are just throwing to spots, right? Pitchers are just throwing, they're pitching. It's not necessarily a plan. When Juan Soto's up, when Aaron Judge is up, when Shohei Ohtani's up, pitchers have a plan for how to get these guys out, whether it's to pitch them up and in or high fastball up, stop stuff down. They have a plan, and they're going to stick to that plan. They're not just throwing pitches wherever they want to. They have a plan, and they need to execute that plan, because if they don't execute that plan, it's 450 to center field.
Yeah. Hey, let's wish happy birthday to Chardal. Dan, it's my birthday tomorrow, turning 28. So October 18th. Let's see, this is 24. So 1996. Chardal, 10/18/96. All right. Well, happy birthday, Chardal. The Giants were horrible, by the way, in 96. But in 97, when you came around, they started getting well. So we're going to credit not only Brian Sabian, the architect, but Chardal being born right after the 1996 season. And what happened? The Giants became one of the best teams in baseball from 97 through 2016. They were constantly in the playoffs. They made 4 World Series appearances, winning 3. I think we now know, guys, why the Giants were successful.
All because of Chardal.
Hey, Dan, one thing I do want to bring up today, of course, being October 17th, is the anniversary of the World Series and the earthquake in '89.
Yes, let me give Chardal a huge crowd cheering for his birthday. You know what, Lou? You brought something up here. I think I have something for the World Series. Three weeks in October, a hardback book, just unbelievable pictures in here. We've got the whole thing with the
Look at the dugout. Look at the dugout, third base, and you should be able to see me in the front row.
In this picture?
Yeah. Is that the game 3 when the earthquake hit?
You had front row at Candlestick too?
Yeah. I'm right there. And in fact, right to the left of the dugout, you'll see me and my dad. I'm in seat 2. Because I got a photo of that.
I can't make it out, though. I can't make you out.
It's all right.
We got the police
I was
car on
there.
the field right there. Look at the pictures of the earthquake.
And people forget is if they lost power. If they would have had power, they probably would have played the game. They didn't realize how bad everything was because you're on solid concrete where it was.
Hey, look, they even got Ben Kaspick in there. Well, that's not
The
bad,
old
is it?
starter jackets.
Oh boy!
But yeah, I was there.
Oh, look at this.
Because remember, a Candlestick, the third base dugout was the A's dugout.
Yeah,
the Giants were always in first. The first base.
Somebody getting married there. Giants, A's,
and those horrible looking hats.
Oh
Lou,
yeah,
Lou, do you think the
splits.
Giants can win a World Series with just pitching and defense, or do they need a star, or do they need a couple stars? Because
they need a star.
They need somebody. The way I see it, if Posey really wants to bring back this culture from the 2010s, it's not easy to do. It's not just something you can say and it happens. I mean, you got to have a manager, you got to have a GM, you got to have Posey, you got to have all the players who are in lockstep with you every day and every single day in and out. Because if you don't have that continuity and if you aren't together, you kind of have to be perfect. You have to play perfect baseball, and that's what it is in the playoffs. I mean, the Dodgers. I'm going to keep on going back to the Dodgers because, I mean, they have the stars. They have Ohtani. They have Betts. They have Freeman. Yep. They have Muncy. They have Teoscar Hernandez. There's a lot of room for error. There is. I mean, if Betts goes 0 for 4, Ohtani could go 3 for 4 with 2 home runs and they win 10-0.
Yep. And you know what? Ben makes a great point here. The National League West, when we were winning World Series, wasn't as competitive as it is now. I mean, the Dodgers weren't even a factor in 2010, pretty much. It was the Padres we beat the last day of the season. In 12, the Dodgers really weren't there. The Dodgers didn't start their division run until 2013.
2012, they went all in. But you see, they actually made trades. Remember that big trade?
Yeah.
They did they got 3 studs from Boston. They went for it. That's one thing the Giants really haven't done. They really haven't gone in on that big trade to try to take that team to the next level. All we ever hear is, no, we're not going to
that super chat
or stuff.
Yeah, that's all the acknowledgement needed.
Let me acknowledge this super chat real quick here, guys.
Of course.
There we go. All right. Thank you, Ryan.
Yep.
They played a horrible Saints team.
That's all that needs to be said.
$10, we'll leave it up there and put $10 up, and we'll read it, and we'll actually give it some real quality time.
Mm-hmm. But if you're going to go all in like the Dodgers have done, you got to have a team that's ready to win now. And
That's
I mean, if you're going to go all in on a Vladimir Guerrero, if you're going to trade a Mato, if you're going to trade your whole farm system for Vladimir Guerrero, because the Giants farm system isn't good, it's going to take a lot of pieces on that farm system to be able to trade for a Guerrero, let's say, right? If you're going to do that, you have to have pieces in place to help support Guerrero. Because if you make that trade, right? Let's say you make that trade with Guerrero. Who do you have that's going to support Guerrero? I mean, Chapman? Are you kidding me? Yeah. Guerrero has to have some support in this lineup. He has to have some protection. You have to build a roster that's ready to compete. You can't just be picking guys left and right and hope it gels and works together. You have to really think about how you want to build your team and the ways that you want to build your team. Because if you don't, and if you're just signing different free agents, and if you're just making trades and it doesn't work out, then you're screwed. You are absolutely screwed.
You're 5 years behind.
Exactly.
Sort of like what the Padres did. They got this over 5 years. You know, they signed the one guy who what? I think he left Cleveland to be their first baseman. And then they made it. Then they said, "Hey, listen, Machado's available in Harper. Let's go after Machado." So now they had 2 guys. Then they made a trade where they picked up 2 young studs. One was Tatis. They got that. You know what I mean? It takes a while. But the one thing about the Giants is we've just been, you know, really the last 5 or 6 years. I mean, I can't remember the only time we really ever made a big trade is when Buster went down. You know, when he got injured, and we sort of went for it, and we traded a stud who's a pitcher now, a stud, but you know, he was still in AAA.
Giovanni, you have selective hearing issues. You don't listen at all.
Division.
You need
division.
I said division. Dan just said the National League. Then he goes, I said National League West wasn't competitive when the Giants were winning. You want me to show you? I will show you. Watch this. Here's the 2012. Is this 12? Yes. This is the 2012. How's that competitive in the National League West? They won by 8, and there was only one other team at 500. This year, they had to deal with 3 teams. That 2 teams won. Padres won 92 or something like that.
Yeah,
Diamondbacks
89.
won 89. Okay, that's 2000.
That's a competitive year. This is competitive.
This is 2010. Okay, sorry. This is 2010. Let's take a look at 2012. 2012 MLB standings. Come on, give me
Just
that.
press enter. Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Here's the 12 season. Oh, that's the same one. What the heck's going on? Let me do the 2010. It blocked up. All right. 2010. Look at that. One team basically that was good. The Padres. Okay. Look at the Dodgers, 80 and 82. 2014, they didn't win the division, but the Dodgers won the division. Take a look at the Dodgers. Look at the Padres, 3rd place, 17. You got it, Giovanni? I know what I'm talking about, okay? You're an Italian, so shut up. Shut up, Giovanni. Come on, listen, my friend. Okay.
Let me ask both of you guys this, because this is important, and this is kind of what we're talking about stars. The more I think about it, and the more I think about the way this roster is constructed and who the personnel is on this roster, I'm kind of starting to oppose signing a Soto or signing a star, because that'll please the fans. That'll put some seats in the crowds, but I don't know if that's going to put you over the edge. Like, if you sign Juan Soto, that's not going to put you over the Dodgers. It's not going to put you over the Padres or the D-backs. There's a good chance you're going to be fighting for 3rd or 4th place. Still, it's not one player. So I would like them, me personally, I would like them to just kind of do a rebuild, do a quiet rebuild. Start in the front office. Make sure you get that right. Make sure you get the GM right. Make sure you get your scouting department right. Make sure you get your player development team right. Make sure you get your minor league personnel right. Make sure you build it from the ground up, because right now your farm system's horrible. Your front office is incomplete. Your scouting, you just fired a bunch of your scouts. Yeah, your analytics team is horrible. The Giants were what, 79 and 83 this year?
Correct.
80 and 82.
They're hovering around 500. They're a 500
they were 80,
team.
80 and 82. Yeah, it was a 1-game improvement.
They're a 500 team, and that's kind of the ceiling for this team right now. I don't see if they bring back this same team next year, I could see them losing. I could see them winning 70 to 75 games just because everybody's a year older and the division is getting better. So you're not going to win as many more games. I would like to see kind of a full silent rebuild, build it from the ground up, and then supplement as you go on. I mean, these next 2 years, they're not that important because the Dodgers are still going to be good, the Padres are going to be good, and the D-backs are going to be good. You're not one or two moves is not going to put you over the top. And to
we
me,
talked about a rebuild a long time ago. They should have been
exactly
rebuilding, and if they would have rebuilt years ago, where would they be if they started rebuilding after the 16 season when they fell apart in the second half? They were crumbling, stumbling and then they went out and signed Mark Melancon. They thought that would be the big issue because they didn't have the bullpen that against the Cubs. The bullpen faltered, blew a bunch of saves down the stretch. What do? They go get Melancon. What does he do? First game, Bumgarner hits 2 home runs in Arizona, and Melancon cannot hold the lead, chokes it, and the season was fluttered downhill because he was awful, and they paid him and all this money, and their stars were aging. I mean, Posey was not having great years. He was dealing with his hip. He had to go have hip surgery, I think that year or somewhere around there. He had to have hip surgery up in Colorado. And then Pence was kind of faltering, Crawford, all these guys. And then they had one big year in 21, right? Mm-hmm. They came back, but 18 was bad.
Worst thing to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. They all of a sudden they have this big year. It's almost like Buster knew it was his last year and willed his team to play over their heads.
And Dan, if you remember when they got our reliever, I liked him because he went to Arizona, so I'm a little biased, but there were 3 relievers that year. We picked the wrong one. The other 2 had great years. And it was just sort of the same when you remember
who were the other 2?
4 shortstops? 4.
Yes.
And we stuck with Crawford. You know?
So, and after during the 21 season, we haven't mentioned this at all. They extended Crawford. He was how old was he? 35, 36 at that point? I mean,
he was 34, I think.
34, and you gave him a 2-year, $32 million extension. I mean, what's the thought
33,
process?
He might have been 33. He might have been 33. They gave him 2 years.
It was so obvious that was a career. That was the best year he'd ever had. I mean, he was 3rd in MVP, I think.
Yeah, he was tremendous that year, and
it was a fluke.
Yeah. I mean, that was the year I wanted them to go get Corey Seager because I thought, oh, you'll get, you kind of do 2 birds with 1 stone. You hurt the Dodgers and you help yourself. Mm-hmm. And because Crawford had that great year, it was like they gave him the $16 million a year.
That was the year of shortstops too.
Yeah. And it was like, I mean, it was kind of hard because you had all these shortstops that were coming.
That was Trey Turner too, right?
Yeah.
But he was always going to go to, there was 4, if I remember. Like, why didn't we go after the guy who went to Chicago? He was less money.
Yeah, Dansby. Turner, that was the year.
Who was the shortstop that went to the Cubs?
Dansby Swanson.
Yeah,
Dansby Swanson.
He would have fit perfect.
But the 4 shortstops, if I remember right, was Trey Turner, Corey Seager. Was Swanson one of them?
Swanson was one of them.
Bogarts,
yeah, because Correa was the year after, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, George, you're right. They should have signed Seager and Simeon. Simeon's from the Bay Area. And, if you went out and really overpaid and got those stars, you would have had them, might have. But again, do left-handed power hitters want to come to Oracle and watch their stats kind of fall off? These guys, I suppose they might if they got the one big fat contract that was going to be for the rest of their career. But a lot of these lefties, they have power to hit it into the cove easily, and they can occasionally hit it over triples, the 415 sign. But that's a big poke to hit a ball 415 and go for an out,
Mhm.
And it happened a ton to Brandon Belt, if you recall. And
Ton.
let's talk about this whole thing with Brandon Belt right now. A lot of people on Bryce Eldridge are talking that Bryce Eldridge is the guy, he's the star, and if you guys remember, Brandon Belt had better numbers than what Bryce Eldridge is doing in the minors. He was a phenom in the minors, and everybody was talking about Brandon Belt.
Grab a beer.
And they didn't rush him. They didn't push him just to get here. I think Buster's going to probably do not the super fast track of Eldridge, but I would expect Eldridge to start the year in AAA. I think the only way he starts is if he just tears up the fall league and then goes into spring training and tears that up and just says, you can't put me down. He forces his way in.
Like Chili Davis, like Brandon Belt did. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Yeah, Buster. Yeah, you can bring him up opening day because, my buddy Dan and Bor have a $20 bet, and I want Bor to win the bet.
Thank you.
All right, thanks. Yeah, yep. So he'll be on our opening day roster.
Yep. Dan,
we have a $20 bet?
No, you and Bor do.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. We do. Okay. I also have
Bor understands the joke.
I think I have a $44 bet with you too. But
that's with your Warriors. Yeah, we'll see.
Okay. All right. Well, you guys go ahead and do something here. I gotta go get some Tylenol. I'm getting a headache real quick. I'll be right back.
Bor, I think you bring up some great points. I think, one of the things is you got to build something, but we need to take baby steps. And I think the Giants either got to do one of two things. I love your idea of getting rid of the deadwood in the front office, getting a GM, getting the focus back AAA. But if they do spend the money, something like Soto, then you got to make a trade to get somebody to protect him. And that's where you go to Toronto and say, listen, you guys need arms. You're going to have to trade young arms. And then the fans are going to, it's sort of a no-win situation because either it's going to look great or it's going to be a disaster. But I think you bring up a great point. If you can fix the inner part of the Giants, the scouting, getting a GM that when the trade deadline actually wants to improve the team and just getting quality players that maybe instead of getting the superstars, how about get players that make contact that are gappers? Someone that can, I'd rather have someone, especially with the way the ballpark is set up, that can maybe have 20 triples and 50 doubles. I don't need 50 homers. You know what I mean? And those guys are usually about half the price. So if you're not going to go for it, instead of spending $60 million on Soto, give me 2 or maybe 3 guys that can put the ball in play, make contact, and keep that ball rolling.
Yeah, give me 3 $20 million a year players rather than because Soto's great offensively, but he's not great defensively, and defense matters. It's not like defense is just completely out the door. Exactly, especially in our ballpark. To me, I think if you're going to make a trade, and if you want to make a trade for a star or a superstar, your best chip is Kyle Harrison because he's 22, I think,
lefty,
and he's young, he's controllable, and he has potential.
Because you already have Wisenhunt coming up.
Exactly. You have Wisenhunt coming up, and I think you can get Snell done. That's just me personally. I think Snell wants to be here. I think Posey can get that done. I think they want Snell here. So I would take that trade-off. I don't love Harrison personally. I like Birdsong more. Birdsong is more of the ace type. He has the better stuff. I mean, Harrison ranges from 90 to 93. His sweeper, whatever you call that, is really inconsistent. His changeup is really inconsistent. He only has 3 pitches, really. He needs to develop a 4th pitch. Birdsong already has 4 pitches. He has a fastball, changeup, curveball, and slider. And the fastball, the changeup, and the curveball are all plus pitches. They are exceptional pitches. So Birdsong, I could see as the guy next year who really solidifies himself in this rotation as a top 3 guy. Because remember, there's a good chance Robbie Ray is here. I think it's pretty much guaranteed that Robbie Ray is going to opt in.
We have,
and you have him for 2. You have him for 2 more years if you opt in.
Webb, Ray, and then Birdsong.
Exactly. Like, and if you can get a Snell, that Webb, Snell, Birdsong, and Ray as your top 4. You don't really need Kyle Harrison. You can play around with the Carson Wisenhunt. Maybe Jordan Hicks comes back, and he's better. But to me, look at Kyle Harrison, and I mean, he's been your number 1 prospect. He's a local kid. I know he's from like De La Salle, I think. So he's local. You draft him out of high school, but you got to be able to cut bait. And I think he's your best
player. You got to trade somebody else beside Harrison.
No, exactly. And I think, to me, and that's the tough part, right? Because this farm system is not good. It's not a loaded farm system. It's one of the worst farm systems in the league. And it's going to have to be a multiple player package. It can't just be Harrison and someone else. It's going to be Harrison, Luciano, Matos, and Schmidt, maybe. It's going to have to be 4 or 5 players for Aguero. And I don't even know if that gets done, because it's all depending on how Toronto or whoever that other team you're trading with values that player.
Now, would you make a trade like that? Because isn't Guerrero have 1 year left?
I would make that trade and extend Guerrero if I could. Okay. If there was a guarantee that you could extend Guerrero, because Guerrero's that player. He had a kind of rough 2-year stretch.
But he had a great end. I mean, the last quarter of the season, he was one of the best players in the league.
Exactly, and he hits 300. He's a professional hitter. Yeah. He doesn't strike out too much.
Don't forget Lou's friend that might be in the rotation too. Tristan Beck.
You're a close pal. By the way, did Beck, I saw 2 things today on the internet. Did him or his mom get in an accident?
I don't know.
That was on one of the Giants things. I don't know. There's been so many weird things on these Giant sites. I think there's a bunch of scammers that are just putting crap on. They don't know about the NorCal Sports Network, where they can get on the network and complain like us.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
But Dan, what do you think about that? Trading Harrison and some other pieces?
If you know what, if you can get the pieces back, if you get something back, I'm all for it, because if you want to get a star hitter, you're going to have to give up something.
Yeah.
And Harrison has one thing that teams like, and that's potential.
Mm-hmm.
Big time potential. Remember, this is only his first full season. He came up last year halfway, or not even halfway. They brought him up. When did they bring him up? About halfway through, right? Last year?
Yeah, but didn't they play around with him too? Like, he was up and down.
Yeah, and they played around with him, and they didn't, this pitch count and all that. So this was his first full season. The one thing I don't like about what they've done with Harrison is they changed his slider. He had a nice slider, and they went and made it a slurve or something.
He had a wipeout slider.
What are they doing?
And that I don't know if I honestly don't know that if that's player development or if that's analytics.
Did they take that away this year or last year?
I don't remember. All I remember from last year,
pitching coach is gone this year. He just left.
Yeah, all I remember from last year is that he looked electric in some starts. I mean, that Cincinnati start, I think, at home, he was like pumping 96, 97. Yes. And he was hitting 89 this year. That was his low. He was at 89 against Washington. I don't know what happened.
Shoulder issue. I don't know if I wonder if it has something to do with the stress on that pitch they change, when you make more spin, you're putting more on the shoulder,
He also has a kind of weird windup and like rotation.
What you guys think of Sean Manayan? just completely changing his delivery.
That's because
You see how
Dan, I told you what they did in New York, right? So he moved originally with the Giants, he was like sort of maybe almost 3/4, and they moved him out almost, I'd say almost like a 45-degree angle.
And he comes across his body now too.
Yeah.
He's stepping over toward first base.
And he did that when he opted out of the Giants because he wanted to be a starter. The first thing they did at spring training in New York, because they talked about it, was we're going to do something different. And they said, let's lower you down. And I'd never seen it before. So when he warms up, there are 2 rubbers. He warms up on the opposing left rubber to throw to the right home base. And they worked on it. He says he barely throws as hard as he can, but the ball comes out like 4 miles an hour. But the break is so severe. You know, he's going to be with the Mets. He's going to be a free agent after this year. He's going to be worth $30 million.
I don't know about that. I would say 20 to 25.
Yeah, I don't think Manaea is a $30 million pitcher.
You got to remember, Snell's going to be the upper, but then you got so many people below.
Yeah, I think Manaea's maybe, if he goes and signs a 3-year deal, maybe $60 million.
$20 million only for a starter.
Yeah. He's not.
All right.
What I'll say,
is the best thing the Mets have.
If he wins Game 6, if they get to Game 6 and they win and they go on to get to the World Series, and he pitches Game 1 and 5 and lights out, yeah, maybe he's up in the 25 million range.
You know, I'm just because I think starting pitching is so valuable. You know, maybe we're low grade, but I'm just saying he made a difference. He listened to his coaches. He never did it before, and boy, he's been impressive.
I mean, I'm looking at his stats right now this year. Oh, wait, so last year, actually, let's just go through his whole season. I'm gonna share not his season, but his career really. Okay, so he debuted in 2016. He threw 25 games. He threw 144 innings. He had a 3.86 ERA. And he had a down year in 2017. He had a 4.37 ERA. He had a good year in 2018. Good year in 2019. Bad year in 2020. I mean, that's 2020. I'm not going to really count that. Then he had a decent year in 21. Then he goes to the Padres. He doesn't have a great year. He has a bad year. And then he goes to the Giants. He has a 4.4 ERA.
But he was a reliever.
Exactly. He was a reliever. He was being played around. And towards the second half of the season, once he was established as a guy, he pitched way better. And to me, look at this year. He's 12-6, 3.47 ERA. He threw 181 innings. He had 184 strikeouts. Sean Manaea is a guy who just completely reworked his pitching motion. He got into the big leagues and something was working. He was throwing from the top. He had I don't know if he was throwing hard, whatever he had. Then the league kind of caught up to him and he had to make an adjustment. He made an adjustment. He went to driveline. He gained some miles per hour. And then he made another adjustment this year with the Mets. Baseball is all about adjustments. And if you can make adjustments, you're going to be successful. Good for Manaea, right? You got to feel for him because he had a rough 2 years.
Yeah, I like.
He wasn't happy with the Giants. I mean, he's going to get his bag this offseason, and good for him because he deserves it.
Good for.
And he also finally got a haircut. Remember his big fro?
Yeah.
Hey, what do you guys think of this? Giants have a new pitching coach.
They promoted within.
Yeah, Martinez. This is. What's the guy's name? What?
JP.
Martinez. Oh, not JD. Gosh, we couldn't get JD Martinez from the Mets. What's wrong with this team? Come on, we're already blowing it. We got the wrong Martinez. Oh, that's right. He's a hitter. Who would you guys rather have? Let me ask you this. Would you rather have JP Martinez, the pitching coach, or JD Martinez, the DH?
Not a question.
And by the way, he said he didn't want to play on the Giants because he didn't think they were a playoff team. That's why he chose the Mets.
And he was right. He got some flack for that. He was right.
Yes. So let's take a look at this article, shall we?
Real quick before you do that, Dan.
Yeah.
I think one of the major coaching downgrades from last year was going from Andrew Bailey to what was the guy's name?
Price?
Price to Brian Price.
Brian Price.
Andrew Bailey is going to be. He's a great pitching coach. Boston had a great rotation this year. He went to Boston.
Yeah.
That was a big loss, and that was an underrated loss.
Good point.
Well, here's what Melvin was when he was hired. He convinced Price, his longtime friend, to put his coaching cap back on and join San Francisco.
Another friend of a friend.
Price previously served as senior advisor to the Padres major league coaching staff, but his last time coaching came in 19 with the Phillies, and he announced his retirement in 2020. So the chance was too great to pass up, he says, but I also knew going in it would be for a short term, a year or two.
With Gabe Kapler.
So he's done. So Price grew up in Mill Valley and pitched at Cal, okay, where Melvin played. Interestingly, so this is what do we know about JP Martinez? I never look him up, Bora. Baseball Reference. Did he pitch? Was he a pitcher?
Okay, let's see.
Let's hope he was a pitcher. Let's hope JP had some at least minor league pitching experience.
Yes, okay. He was drafted by the Twins in the 9th round of the 2004 MLB draft. He never made it to the big leagues. He retired in 2008. So he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years of minor league experience.
All right. Not always does a great player make a great coach, and so it doesn't always translate that a bad player or a non-major leaguer can't coach. I thought Kai Correa wasn't a bad coach. He never really played in the majors. He was supposedly a good infield.
Isn't he the Guardians bench coach this year?
He is. He's with the Guardians.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Well, they leave the Giants organization, and all of a sudden they're in the playoffs.
Right.
So, guys, we'll see where this thing goes. But I thought the best pitching coach the Giants ever had was Dave Righetti.
Mm-hmm.
And then Dick Tidrow, didn't he help out a little bit during the championship years?
Gardner was okay, but
I just wonder what they're going to do. I really do. I mean, I'm hearing, you know what? Let me pull up X. I thought I saw Marty Lurie. I didn't get a chance to read it because you know how Twitter sometimes you look at something and it scrolls and it's gone. You can't find it.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
So I know it was from Marty. So let me pull it up here. I think he tweeted something about, yes, here it is. Let me pull it up. He tweeted something about Billy Owens. Let's see what he says here.
I don't love Billy Owens, and who am I to have an opinion on Billy Owens? But we've looked at it. Lou, you know this. Dan, you know this.
Yeah, Bora, I love what you said. I like his tripod of the 3 assistant GMs.
Right?
A little bit better than him.
I don't know what he's done. Because they have the 3 guys. There's not one thing that you can say he's done because you kind of don't know.
Marty says, it's time for the Giants to name Billy Owens as GM. I've seen the list of the other candidates. All okay, but not with the desire for the job Owens has or his track record being in the middle of the countless evaluations to make deals. Bay Area guy, fresh start. Buster can have all of his buddies around, but let's start with a solid baseball person who knows the game cold and isn't afraid to change things. Okay. That's Marty's view. That's not a bad point. What about the outside guy, Carlos
Rodriguez
from a scouting back? I mean, Owens has a little bit of scouting background as well. we'll see where this thing goes.
To me, the most important trait is development, because you can scout a player and a player can be, you can draft a player second overall, but if you don't develop that player well, then he's just going to turn into a nobody. And I think that's one of the fundamental flaws that the Giants have had. Their developmental system is just not good. And maybe it's just that their players aren't good. But I mean, Marco Luciano, he was this highly touted prospect for 6 years.
6 years.
And who is he now? I mean, he's a fringe player.
Bora, did you see this game tonight?
I
Look
took
at this.
it.
Two out. Look at that ball.
Oh man,
That was to tie it.
I
watched the first 2 innings, then I took a 2-hour nap, and I woke up in like the 7th inning, so I got to watch the end of that.
Wouldn't that be fun if Cleveland comes back and pulls this out?
Good for them.
I told you last night it was not over until a team wins on the opposing teams. It's not over. Cleveland come back, win tomorrow. It's 2-2.
So is the Dodgers have won twice on the opposing team's field?
Yeah, I think that's over.
Yeah, that's
but last night when the Yankees win the first 2 at home, people are saying it's over. It's over. It's like,
I think it's over too. But here's one possible play, and I brought this up at the beginning. The Dodgers go with Flaherty tomorrow. It has the risk reward. I'm not sure if I think is worth it. Here's what I could see backfiring. And it's a long shot. I think the Dodgers probably win it tomorrow, to be honest. Bora's probably right. Dodgers in 5. I didn't see this coming in 5. But
should have made a bet on that.
Let's say Flaherty comes out and he's off and the Mets bats wake up. And they get a couple of big hits. The Mets have had bases loaded quite a bit in this series and got nothing to show for it. But if they do that tomorrow and they knock Flaherty around, and now you got to go back to LA for game 6, and the Dodgers do not have a starter for game 6. So it's their bullpen game. Now, your bullpen comes in, and for whatever reason, they're off. And
Manaea wins game 6. Now you're in game 7. What do you do? Bueller?
And you're in game 7 with a bullpen that's maybe tired now.
Yeah, but you are also at home. It's a big difference. I heard your show, and the one thing about the Giants when they beat the Cardinals is they came back to Candlestick for game 6 and 7.
Johnny TC16 says, please don't root for Cleveland. There's no chance they could beat the Dodgers. Yeah, I think
I kind of agree with that. Yeah,
I think you're right. The Yankees, Dodgers is a powerhouse. The Yankees right now, to me, they have 4 starting pitchers that can go. Right? You got Rodon, you got Cole, you've got
Gil.
Is Gil out or is he? Did he pitch
I think he's starting tomorrow. Yeah, he's
starting
tomorrow.
They got a stopper. Well, that's why they pay these guys $35
And then the other guy who started
Rodon.
tonight. Who started tonight? What's his name? Schmidt. Clark Schmidt.
Clark Schmidt.
Yeah, so they got 4 starters, and then they got a pretty rested bullpen. How about the bullpens tonight? Weaver and Clase both giving up big home runs.
Yeah,
Clase needs to get together.
Wow, Clase
he did that before. He did that against Detroit.
Yeah, he looks shell shocked. Like, this has never happened to me this year.
He's thrown too many fastballs. He's not throwing the slider enough.
Yeah, throw the slider, man. They're waiting on that 99-100 mile an hour fastball, and if they're waiting on it, any big leaguer can hit it.
Yeah,
I'll say my last piece, and then I'm gonna jet out of here.
And we're gonna jet out of here too, Boris. So we'll
end the show together. This is kind of an open-ended question, but just keep this in mind. If the Dodgers win the World Series, that might be a blessing in disguise for the Giants because, one, there's no more excuse of the 2020 championship being a hoax and being a fluke, because we all know that that's not a real championship. They played half a season, if that. If they can pull this out this year, the Dodgers have a championship, and the Giants fans have nothing to talk about and nothing to stand on. Oh, we have the 3 World Series. Well, the Dodgers just won the World Series this past year. That might wake up this Giants organization into realizing we're behind. We're behind, and we need to get back on top, because they've been on top. They were on top for the 2010s. Now they're at the bottom. And if the Dodgers win the World Series, that might be a wake-up call to everybody in this organization and everybody in this fan base to stop accepting mediocrity. Because the Giants are a historic team. They're one of the best franchises in the world.
Yeah.
We deserve, as fans, we deserve better. And we need to see this team making the playoffs and making a run every year. So it might be a blessing in disguise.
It's not a bad point, because thinking about it, I mean, we Giants fans right now, the only hope we have is we just want to see the Dodgers not win it. And
I'm not rooting for the Dodgers. I'm not rooting
right.
for that to happen.
Exactly. No, we're not rooting for that. I just think the Giants are. I don't think they have a owner that has the burning desire like the Dodgers ownership, like the Yankees ownership, like the Mets ownership,
Padres.
like the Phillies, Padres. They don't have the burning desire to win. I really think the biggest problem with the San Francisco Giants is Greg Johnson and whoever else is on that board of directors for the Giants. I don't think they have the passion to win. They won 3 World Series. They got some new investors in there that are really more interested in making money on the property values of Mission Rock and the cash cow with a paid stadium. And they're really more interested in getting their payday and their family's futures. You don't have a baseball man in there. Greg Johnson doesn't even go to the games. I've heard that. Okay. He doesn't go to the games. He's not. Look, Greg Johnson and the Giants move when the flagship station of the Giants gets upset. Okay. They don't listen to what 95.7 the game is. They don't listen to what NorCal Sports is saying. They don't listen to what the newspapers are saying. They care what KMBR says. And when KMBR gets upset, the Giants make decisions. But if they're not, look, this is not a winning organization right now. It doesn't have the desire. They can give you lip service all they want, but until they put really their money where their mouth is and actually go out and aggressively pursue and tell you what they're going after. Look, the Dodgers very clear about who they were going after last year. And Dave Roberts was like, yeah, we're going after Shohei. Remember the whole thing? Don't announce it. He wants it quiet. And Dave Roberts like, I'm not going to lie. So, and the Dodgers will not stop. If they win, they'll want to win 2 or 3 more in a row. Mm-hmm. Okay. They're going to want, the Dodgers are tired of hearing the Giants won 3 out of 5. They want to better that. They want to win 3 in a row. Okay. Or at least back to back and go, if they can do back to back and do 3 of 5 or 4 out of 5. So I don't think the Dodgers are going to quit after this year. You know what I think they're going to do? I think they're going to go sign Willie Adames and Max Fried.
And they can do it. It's not like they don't have the money. They have the money for it.
Yeah, they'll just rearrange some of the other guys. They'll let some of the other guys go. I think they re-signed Teoscar Hernandez. He took a 1-year deal. He wants a multi-year deal. He took less, and he proved himself. And I think the Dodgers will reward him. And I think they go after the one. What is their weaknesses? Shortstop and pitching. starting pitching. And
And
where's
Dan,
Max? Where's Max Fried from? Southern California. Grew up a Dodger fan.
Dan, I think the Giants should be embarrassed considering their neighbors a mile and a quarter away. They spend whatever it takes to win. When you see the Warriors organization, their owners at the game, he doesn't care. I mean, the last, I think, except for last year,
when have you ever seen Greg Johnson sitting in a box seat?
I've never seen him. I always see Larry Bear, and that's it.
Yeah. Greg Johnson makes the decisions. He's the chairman of the board, and he doesn't show up.
I don't see his son either.
Yep. No, Greg Johnson is the son. It's Charles Johnson that's the 90-year-old man.
Sorry.
Yeah. So
Sorry, they sit on the other side. They don't sit on my side. Real fans sit on my side of the dugout.
hey, Chardall, I appreciate the invite. If I can make it, I'll try and make it for a little bit, but I've got work to do tomorrow. Friday afternoons
Friday
can be a little busy for me with putting out problems before the weekend. But we'll see. But
and Bora, one thing I wanted to bring up, when the Dodgers, if they do win it next year, they'll do whatever it takes to fill the holes. But they already have a stud coming in that we're not talking about who's going to be pitching for them next year.
Ohtani?
That's correct.
And I'm on record saying that's a mistake if they make him a starter. I think they should make him a closer. I think a starter, you'll see his offensive production go down a little bit. And
Hold on. Yeah, I'll tell Dan. Yeah, no problem. Dan, we're world champions. Don't tell us how to run it. We know what we're doing. Thanks.
Hold on one second here.
That was Mr. Freeman on the phone.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Oh, yeah. Andrew. Yeah. You've won nothing yet, Andrew. You lost in 17 and 18, okay? Yeah, I don't want to hear about trash cans. You lost, okay? Period. You lost on your home field, dude. You didn't have trash cans at Dodger Stadium, did you, in Game 7? Yeah, you lost. Okay. Yeah, and you lost in 18 too. Yep. Okay, very good. How'd you do in Tampa Bay? Did you win anything there? Uh-huh. Oh, 2020 you're going to bring. No, that don't count, buddy. Win a real one, and I'll have you come on NorCal Sports, and I'll let you gloat, okay? All right, got to run, Friedman. Bye. Okay, Andrew Friedman right there on the UMA hot phone.
Yeah. The UMA line.
Oh, man.
Okay. What is UMA?
I have no clue.
It sounds really good, though. It sounds really good on the UMA guest line.
Yeah, the UMA guest line is the sponsor.
Hey, you know what?
Hey, Dan, before we leave,
We got a new guest line. Let's call ourselves the WUMA.
Dan, this weekend's going to be about 80, 85 in the valleys. Any recommendations we should go on the weekend or any places we should stop for?
Oh, really? 85?
Yeah, it's going to be a hot one this weekend. Any recommendations in the East Bay?
Well, if you're over there in the East Bay, you probably want to go check out our sponsor, Yogurtshack. They're in downtown Danville and in
The
Lafayette.
Yogurtshack guest line.
Yeah, hold on, guys. I've got an envelope. Hold on here. Where's my envelope?
It's always a good way to go out, take care of the sponsor.
Look at this, guys. We've got coupons right here. $5 coupons. Yogurtshack. Can you see that, guys?
Oh, yeah.
We got 2 of these. We'll give you $10 in coupons to go visit Yogurtshack just for signing up to become a member of NorCal Sports Network. And you know what? I think we got to end the show. I think we got a new tradition here. Bora never played this game, Lou, but we played it last night on the show. So I got to kick a field goal. Do you ever play the paper football field goal, Bora?
All the time.
Okay. Did you see that?
It's weird. I'm used to kicking it where you got to kick the angle. Look how he kicks it.
Did you see the slow-mo I sent out last night?
I saw that, yeah.
That was pretty funny. Lou,
And Bora, are you coming to the Bay Area next weekend? Or
I'm
this
here
weekend?
I'm here right now.
Oh, okay.
You got to
Well,
get
it's gonna be a
together,
good
Lou.
weekend weather-wise.
We might have to. I'm a little under the weather though, so
Okay, sorry about
we'll
that.
we'll see what happens.
Here you go, Dan.
All right, hold on.
See, he kicks it weird.
Let me get the camera here so we can see the football.
Oh,
Yeah, that's not how you're supposed to do it.
That's
How do
what
you
I
do it?
said.
Like this?
No,
No,
you
you
got to
got-
kick it like on the side. So
Yeah.
it goes this way.
What do
No,
you mean,
you
like-
got to move.
Like
Yeah.
that, yeah.
And you hold
Like
it like
that.
that. Bar, that's the way
Like
I was
that?
always
Yeah.
playing.
That's how you do it.
I've
That's
never
how you do
kicked
it.
that way, but I could probably. Oh, here we go. Wide right. Hold on, I gotta get that. Hold on.
I mean, you could launch them.
Yeah, that's it. You're supposed to do. Yeah, exactly, because you get the spin correct.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, when I kick like that, it goes up in the air farther. If I kick it like this, I could kick it right into the camera, and you see it coming. You want me to kick it
Yeah.
into the camera?
Tell you the truth, until you kicked it last night, I'd never kicked it like that. That's just me.
I can kick it like this. I can get some height.
Yeah, that was good.
Chang. All right, everybody. Well, thanks for
Guys,
joining.
remember, long way to go. If Cleveland wins tomorrow, especially after an emotional win tonight, and they get a lead, it's a series.
Yes. And,
Yeah, you see, Bora, he always blames us. We can't even hear him.
you can't hear me?
No,
There you go. You gotta
just,
say it
just when the
again. You
music
were-
comes on.
Yeah, the music drowns you out for a sec. That's why I got to turn it down. All right, let me turn it back down. Hold on. What do we got? We got all kinds of like and subscribe. Oh, whoops. Sorry about that. Hit like and subscribe. Where's my like and subscribe button here? Hold on. Hey, don't forget to give us a call too. At the bottom there. You need any help with financial service needs? Give me a call. 888-960-SAFE. That's 888-960-SAFE. Or if you need a loan for a mortgage, give Los a call. Flex Funding 925-250-4894. Thanks for
Dan, are you going to be doing a show Saturday night after the big Texas win over Georgia?
Yeah, let's hook 'em horns, huh? Let's go.
Be fun to see SEC.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? Let's do a little quick update and see where we're at on the subline. Let's go to the WUMA subline here and take a look at our
Now the Yogurt Shack subline.
the Yogurt Shack subline. There we go. That's what we're gonna call it. The Yogurt Shack subline says we're at 25-29. There we go.
We picked up another two today.
Couple more
27
subs.
since last night.
27 subs since last night. At this rate, by the weekend, we'll be at 2,600. There we go, everybody. Hey, thanks for joining, everybody. Chardall, yeah. Hold on one
Chardell,
second.
have a good birthday. Bart,
Happy birthday,
hope you feel better.
Chardall.
Welcome
Thank
home.
you.
Appreciate you. Come on in, Chardall. We're leaving, but you can come on in. All right, everybody. Good night. Take care. See you tomorrow night after Mets Dodgers. Wait, Mets Dodgers are playing in the daytime, aren't they?
Yeah,
And the
Yankees.
it's Yankees. All right, we'll come on a little bit. One way or the other, we'll come on. I don't know. Have a good night, everybody. Thanks for joining.